All right, next up, you got what actually turns interest into book calls. And it's why your DMs might feel busy, but go nowhere. You're getting the likes, the replies, but no clients. You're going to be pouring hours into messaging, following up, sliding into inboxes. At the end of the day, nothing converts. You're probably frustrated, tired, and wondering why everyone else seems to be closing deals while your DMs just fill up with polite replies. Let's get into it. If you've been in the space long enough, you've probably seen these type of replies, thanks, I'll think about it, I'll lock in first, or even appreciate you, bro. You read it, feel good for a second, and then you realize it's just radio silence after that. No commitment, no call booked, just nothing. Sound familiar, right? This is why most coaches, they just burn out chasing DMs all day, just sending like tons of outreach, replies, just, oh man, it gets frustrating. And I know how you feel. Here's the reality. Giving more tips, more motivation, or even showing off your knowledge doesn't make someone ask about your coaching. You're stuck in a trap that most coaches fall into, which is you're just relieving pain instead of directing decisions. You gotta understand that people aren't lazy, they're just unsure. They need direction and not advice. And that's why those nice, polite conversations lead nowhere. Let me show you an example of a DM right here. Client says, I'm trying to lose fat and stay consistent. And most coaches respond, nice man. Consistency is key. Just keep tracking your food, stay active. They smile, they nod, give encouragement, and then the conversation dies. Nothing happens. No call, no client, no progress. This is the difference between looking helpful and actually being effective. What you need to understand is if you don't lead the prospect to the next step, they won't. And it's not because they're lazy or uninterested, it's because they're uncertain. Every unbooked call, every lost DM, or every maybe later is a failure in leadership and not your actual content or effort. You need to guide decisions before they actually buy. And when you look at like the highest level coaches, the biggest names in the info space, they don't rely on motivation, tips, or even encouragement alone. They diagnose, they direct, and they guide decisions. They identify the real bottlenecks and lead the clients confidently. That's how you turn interest into action. How you move someone from curious follower to actual paying client. So if you're still getting advice without direction, your DMs will continue to feel busy but go nowhere. Let me show you an example of how some of the best coaches in the space handle it. Same question. I'm trying to lose fat, but I still get to stay consistent. Coach responds, got it. Consistency usually breaks because of structure and not willpower. Quick question. What's been hardest? Nutrition, training, or accountability? You see the difference, right? Instead of what most coaches do, they give this generic advice. Instead, you're actually uncovering the problem, guiding the decision, and positioning yourself as the authority. And that's what will turn DMs into actual book calls. And once you master the guiding principles of how to guide DM conversations, the next bottleneck isn't even going to be price. It's going to be how you frame the call. The way you present the opportunity, set expectations, and structure the conversation will determine whether they say yes or no. Next, we'll be going over why your calls aren't converting. And the big thing you need to understand here is that interest dies on call, not because of price, but because the call was framed wrong before it ever happened. All right. So most coaches think calls don't convert because the lead wasn't serious or they just couldn't afford it. And that's almost never true. What I've come to realize is that calls don't fail on the call, they fail in the DM before the call is even booked. So by the time someone gets on Zoom with you, they've already decided whether this is a conversation or a commitment. And here's where most coaches screw this up. They're booking calls like this. You want to hop on a quick call and chat. Let's see if this is a good fit. No pressure, just vibes, right? And that framing feels safe, but it's actually killing your conversion. Why? Because it's taking away the stakes from the call. When you frame a call as casual, exploratory, or even optional, you got to understand the prospect is going to treat the call the exact same way. They might show up curious, but they won't be committed. They might seem very interested, but they're not going to be decided yet. And then that's why I see a lot of coaches wonder why they get a lot of responses like, I want you to think about it, I want you to talk to my significant other, or whatever it is, right? You need to understand, a call is not for convincing, it's not for pitching, and it's definitely not for explaining your program. The only job of the actual call is for decision clarity. It's either this is the path forward or it's not. Anything else is literally just noise. You see it with a lot of the high converting coaches. They don't use calls to sell. They use the DM to pre-frame the decision and the call just to confirm it. So instead of let's hop on a call and talk, they'll say something along the lines of, if this is something you're actually serious about fixing, we can walk through what solving it would actually require and see if it makes sense for us to move forward. And the difference there is one is a chat and one is a decision checkpoint. When the call is actually framed correctly, price isn't a shock, Objections show up way earlier, and the I need to think about it's disappeared. Not because you pressured them into it, but because you led them there. And this is why some coaches book calls all week and struggle to close, while others close fewer calls at higher rates. Same niche, same offer, different framing. And that's only one shift we've gone over. Next, I'll be breaking down how to actually structure the call itself so it feels natural, calm, and decisive without sounding salesy, as all you guys like to call it. Alright, so now that we have our DM pre-framing out of the way, we can jump straight into call structure. And key things to remember is the call is not actually where you convince, the call is where you confirm what's already been decided subconsciously. And if you do this right, the close should feel inevitable. So let me reset how you're actually thinking about it. To remember is a call is not a presentation. It's not a pitch or a place to prove your value. The simplest way to put it is that a call is like a diagnostic room. And every high converting call follows the same 3 phases. 1, we got context, why they're here. Constraint, what's actually stopping them or the problem. And decision, what happens next. And if you skip or rush any of these, the call turns into resistance. So, for context, you don't start with your program, you start with why this problem matters right now. What made you reach out at this point, and why not 3 months from now? And then you shut up and let them talk themselves into urgency. And next we have constraint. And this is where I see a lot of coaches stay very surface level with their thinking. And most people think they know their problem. They don't. So you have to actually dig for that problem. You said consistency is the issue. What usually breaks first? What have you tried that didn't stick? What happens if nothing changes in the next 3 months or even 6 months? And this is where that emotion starts to show up, that frustration, that embarrassment, or even that doubt. And you don't fix it yet. You let them feel it. And then you seamlessly transition into decision. Only after they clearly see the problem do you talk about solutions, not features, not price, just direction. So an example would be, based on what you said, there are 2 paths from here we can take. You keep going and you try to self-manage and hope it clicks yourself, or you get structure, accountability, and a system designed for this exact issue. Which one feels more realistic? This is literally just leadership and not actually selling. And why this actually works is when someone decides with you and not against you, price becomes very, very secondary because the real decision's already happened. And that's that belief shift. So just to reiterate, let's zoom out here for a second. Likes without clients comes from content that doesn't create demand. DMs stall when you don't lead the conversation. Calls fail when they framed as chats instead of actual decisions. And closes only happen naturally when the call is structured correctly. So if you're a coach who wants more attention, more compliments, or validation from content, I'm sorry, you just wasted your time with this entire video. But if you want warmer leads, cleaner calls, and clients who decide without actually chasing, then I can break this down for you deeper. I'll tag my Instagram in the comments below. You know where to find me.